Some days life just flips a switch. Click, and everything you thought you knew about a place turns upside down. The day I came back to my family's old cabin by Silverfinch Lake was one of those days. I had barely dropped my backpack on the porch, still breathing in that familiar mix of pine sap and cold lake air, when a woman in a pencil skirt and heels sharp enough to pop a balloon pointed a manicured finger at me and barked into her phone, "911, yes. There's a trespasser on community property." I stood there, arms crossed, watching her march toward me like the weather itself had to part for her. Her name, I'd later learn, was Brenda Whitfield, self-appointed queen of the Silverfinch Homeowners Association. "Pack your things," she ordered, holding up a clipboard like it was a federal badge. "This is private property. Outsiders aren't allowed." I couldn't help but chuckle, not out of disrespect but at the absurdity of it all. The cabin she was calling not mine was the same one where I learned to fish, where my dad taught me to tie knots and name the birds at dusk. My name's Luke Hart. I grew up here. On this lake, on this land. Life pulled me away for over a decade, but family matters brought me back. And I didn't come empty-handed. In the bottom of my backpack sat a thick manila envelope. Brenda had no idea that envelope was about to burn her little fiefdom to the ground. Within minutes, 2 police cruisers rolled down the dirt path, lights flashing over the water like restless fish. Brenda waved them over like she was flagging down a parade float. "That's him," she shouted. "Cuff him. He's an intruder." The older officer, Collins, stepped out first, giving me and then Brenda a measured look. "Ma'am, do you have proof he doesn't belong here?" he asked. Brenda shoved her clipboard at him, pages of what looked like HOA bylaws and signatures printed from a home computer. "This entire lake is under our jurisdiction," she snapped. "He's violating multiple regulations." The younger officer, Nguyen, turned to me, his hand resting near his belt. Not threatening, just routine. "Sir, what's your connection to this cabin?" Before I could speak, Brenda cut in again, practically screeching, "He has no connection." Just drag him off. That's when I finally spoke. Slowly. Deliberately. "Officer, you might want to take a look at something." I reached into my backpack and handed Collins the manila envelope. Brenda lunged as if to snatch it, but Collins stepped back and began reading. I watched his eyebrows climb higher with each page. Brenda's confidence started to crack. I leaned slightly toward her and said just loud enough for her to hear, "You just called 911 on a man standing on his own land." Nguyen leaned closer to me, voice low. "Sir, this says you own not just the cabin but thousands of acres around the lake." Brenda went crimson. "Impossible! The HOA runs this entire lake. We have rules. We hold elections. We charge dues." Collins flipped to the final page and tapped a faded red seal. "This is a county-recorded deed, dated 1987 and updated in 2006. It's legitimate." He looked at Brenda with calm authority. "Ma'am, HOA bylaws do not override county property records, and right now you're standing on his land." Silence rolled over the neighborhood. Even the wind seemed to pause. Then old Mr. Delgado, who used to teach me how to cast a fishing line, stepped out from behind his curtain. "If Luke owns the land around the lake," he muttered, "then who've we been paying all these years?" Someone else whispered, "Dock permits. Trash fees. Dog licenses." The murmurs spread like wildfire. Brenda gripped her clipboard tighter, scanning the faces of the neighbors who had once treated her word as law. I unfolded another piece of paper, AE, yellowed map with faded ink and my grandfather's handwriting labeling deep, channel, and reads here, "My family bought this land generations ago," I said. "We left it as it was, let people live here, raise kids here, enjoy summers here. But somewhere along the line, while I was gone, someone decided to start writing rules and charging money on property that wasn't theirs." Nguyen's radio crackled. "Confirmed," a voice said. "Ownership of land surrounding Silverfinch Lake is held by Hart Trust. No record of HOA authority." Brenda staggered. "He forged it. Forged the seal. Anyone could do that." Collins shook his head, folding the papers carefully. "Ma'am, if people have been paying fees to an entity with no legal standing, this isn't just a misunderstanding. It could be fraud." I wasn't gloating. Not exactly. But I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a flicker of satisfaction deep down. I remembered what my dad told me the last summer we spent here together. Don't let anyone write laws on your land. But don't let anger write them in your heart either. I turned to Brenda. "You don't have to like me or this old cabin or the Hart name, But the truth is, I belong here. More than those papers you just printed this morning. The situation shifted like a storm rolling in. A man in a baseball cap yelled, "You took $5,000 from me for a dock permit that never existed." Emmy, from 2 cabins down, shouted, "You threatened to tow my car if I didn't pay your fake parking fee." One accusation after another rained down, and Brenda stood frozen in the middle of it all, her so-called authority dissolving faster than ink in water. She snapped, "This isn't fair. He's lying. I run this community." She lunged toward me, clawing at the papers like a wild animal. Collins and Nguyen stepped in, pinning her arms. "That's enough, ma'am," Collins said, his voice all business now. The crowd had gathered fully on the road, phones raised, recording every second. "Wait," someone shouted. "If he owns the land, then every fine we paid was illegal." A low rumble of anger swept through the neighbors, and for the first time, I saw fear flash across Brenda's eyes. Collins sighed. "Ma'am, you're going to need to come with us for questioning." The metallic click of handcuffs echoed against the water. Brenda thrashed, "You can't do this. I'm in charge." "He's just some squatter." But the neighbors weren't buying it anymore. "You conned us," someone yelled. "You lied to all of us." Another shouted, "We're pressing charges." They led her toward the cruiser. But just before ducking into the back seat, she hissed, "You don't understand." I wasn't working alone. That sentence hit harder than any scream she'd thrown all afternoon. The chatter died instantly. People exchanged wary looks. I stepped closer. "What do you mean, not alone?" Brenda's lips twisted into a bitter little grin. "You'll find out soon enough." The car door slammed shut, and just like that she was gone, but her words hung heavy over the lake. The neighbors clustered around me, some apologizing for how they'd treated me, others furious at the betrayal. One man muttered, "If she had partners, maybe the whole board knew." Another added, "We've been paying thousands every year. Where did it all go?" I looked back at the cabin, weathered, creaking, beautiful, and at the lake shimmering gold in the late afternoon sun. "Don't worry," I told them quietly. "I'm not just the owner of this land. I have every right to demand answers, and I will." Nguyen lingered behind, lowering his voice so only I could hear. "Sir, if she's telling the truth, you might have stumbled into something much bigger than a fake HOA. There could be officials tied up in this." I nodded slowly, fingers tightening around the deed. The wind picked up again, rippling across the water. The crowd wasn't angry anymore, not just angry. They were hopeful that the truth was finally surfacing, hopeful that the little kingdom Brenda built on lies was crumbling. As the sun dipped behind the tree line and the police car disappeared down the road, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. If someone had the nerve to build a fake empire on my land, then I was going to burn down every last rotten piece of it. No one scams a man on his own soil, and maybe that's where I'll leave you, because now I'm standing at the edge of something bigger than I ever expected. Property disputes, fraud, maybe even corruption. Brenda's words still ring in my ears. I wasn't working alone. What would you do if you found out an entire community had been built on lies, on your land, and someone had been profiting off it for years? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what justice looks like here. Should every dollar be repaid? Should people be charged? Should I forgive and move on? I want to hear what you think. Because one thing's for sure, this story isn't over yet.